Apple seems ready to launch its first iPhone very soon, but what comes after continues to get even more interesting. Samsung's Galaxy Wide Fold just got shown off in form factor leaks, and it's seriously unlike anything I've ever seen. Apple is set to bring us its new Siri in collaboration with Google soon, but not in the timing we expected. And yes, Samsung's Galaxy S26 series just found even more leaks that you might or might not like. I'm Jaime Rivera, and it's time for these 4 interesting topics. This is TechBriefing, powered by MediaTek. The official news today are sort of official, if not as controversial as the topic of AI has been when it comes to Apple. So, we heard that the company was partnering with Google on having Gemini models power the evolution of Siri, but, well, according to a new Bloomberg report, even that seems to be hitting delays after internal testing revealed performance and reliability issues. The upgraded assistant, initially expected to arrive with iOS 26.4, may now roll out gradually across iOS 26.5 and iOS 27 as engineers continue to refine key features like personalization, on-screen awareness, and deeper app integrations. Early internal builds reportedly struggle with accuracy, sometimes taking too long to process requests or failing to understand queries. In some cases, Siri has even defaulted to ChatGPT for answers instead of relying on the Gemini-powered system Apple is working on to integrate, highlighting how unfinished the experience kind of is, according to the report. Now, despite the setback, what was published claims that Apple is moving forward with additional AI tools tied to Siri's evolution. Internal versions already include capabilities like image generation through Image Playground and web search summaries, though not all are stable enough for a public release just yet, and I assume this means upgrades to these services. The bigger goal is a major transformation arriving with iOS 27, where Siri is expected to gain more advanced conversational abilities and deeper system-wide integration. Apple wants the assistant to compete directly with modern AI chatbots like Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT, turning Siri into a more capable digital helper rather than just a voice command tool. Let me know if this still matters to you given the delays in the comments. Now let's switch to Samsung as the rumors of its Galaxy S26 series continue to gain traction. We have a new batch of image renders that have fully exposed the Galaxy S26 series just weeks before the launch and showing the Galaxy S26 Ultra, the S26 Plus, from nearly every angle and, well, confirming how minor the visual changes really are. I mean, if anything, it confirms what we have seen before with the Ultra adopting the redesigned camera module similar to the Z Fold 7 with a curvier silo for the S Pen, and which is expected to feature a 6.9-inch LTPO dynamic AMOLED 2X display with Gorilla Armor 2, a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy chip, and the 5,000 mAh battery with 60-watt wired and 25-watt wireless charging. News sources claim camera hardware won't change, but we're still hoping that the HP3 200-megapixel sensor makes it to the primary at least. Now, as for the Galaxy S26 Plus and standard model, well, following the same approach, it retains last year's design, which is, like 3 years old, and only a refreshed camera bump with minor refinements. The S26 Plus is tipped to include a 6.7-inch display, Gorilla Armor 2 protection, and the Exynos 2600 in some regions. Official-looking renders show the lineup in black, white, sky blue, and cobalt violet, with additional online exclusive colors expected. Overall, I'm just scratching my head as much as you are. This Galaxy S26 series appears focused on polish, durability, and performance rather than dramatic design changes, reinforcing expectations of an incremental upgrade cycle ahead of the February 25th announcement. I mean, would you get any of these phones with such minor upgrades? Let me know in the comments. Now let's talk about that Samsung Galaxy Wide Fold, because let's just say this device just became hotter than even I expected. Let's begin with the fact that the wording is starting to get interesting. A new leak suggests that Samsung is testing a much wider version of the Galaxy Z Fold 8, which, yes, makes me wonder if what we know as the Wide Fold is really the Z Fold 8. I think this Wide Fold will be like the S25 Edge, where it launches alongside the more conservative models. Early animations from Android Authority show a form factor that's noticeably broader than previous Fold models and even wider than Google's original Pixel Fold. Actually, it's so wide the dimensions don't even make logical sense to me, because I've never seen a form factor like this. We're talking a 16:10 aspect ratio on the outer display, which, yeah, is like what you currently have on your MacBook. Exactly, that crazy wide. Not even sure how that'll fit in a pocket when closed, and then the inner screen is a 9x7, which is surely wide, but more rectangular than what we currently have with the square sort of on the Z Fold 7. The renders tied to a device codename H8 appear to come from an early One UI 9 build and hint to a redesigned approach to foldables, possibly influenced by competition and upcoming foldable devices expected from other brands. If accurate, the advantage would be that the phone, while open, will feel more like a small tablet than it currently does, as I always relate its current aspect ratio to feel more like an e-reader, and if you think of it, this wide fold actually feels more like the trifold. This would improve multitasking, video consumption, and productivity for sure. It's crazy to see Samsung already experimenting with new form factors right after the success of the Z Fold 7. If anything, it's interesting to see how the company's experimentation has shifted from the S to the Z series. I'm curious to know if you like what you see in the comments. Now, before we get to the hottest news, let me tell you about today's sponsor, MediaTek. The Moto Edge is the company's latest premium flagship match with great looks and amazing feel in the hand thanks to its premium materials and also Motorola's latest collaboration with MediaTek on its Dimensity 7400 Ultra. Its 4nm architecture enables powerful experiences like the great color reproduction of the 6.7-inch curved display. It's capable of all the cool improvements in Moto AI, its chip efficiencies allow for all the endurance you need with 2-day battery life, and we have an ISP that delivers great photography from its triple camera system. It's the reason Motorola continues to choose MediaTek year over year. Thanks to MediaTek for sponsoring this video. And finally, for the most interesting news today, let's talk Apple, as there is a lot to discuss about what the company is doing when it comes to smartphones. Actually, these are 3 segments condensed into one, so grab some popcorn again. First of all, let's discuss the iPhone 17e. At this point, retail sources at Apple stores are already claiming that inventories are nearly dry on both the iPhone 16e and on the iPad Air, so it's safe to assume that that's what's coming next. We hear the iPad Air is gonna really be a spec bump to M4, so I'm not even gonna bore you with that one. In the case of the iPhone 17e, the initial batch of rumors pointed to just a spec bump as well, but other recent sources, which include Front Page Tech in a video, speculate that it'll be a little more than that. The design will remain familiar, but not entirely the same. The screen will apparently be a 6.1 inches diagonal as well, but it actually might bring a dynamic island. There's even more confirmation of the possibility of MagSafe, which alone will be welcome for me. Now, internals include an A19 chip, possibly with one less GPU core, as the lack of ProMotion and an always-on display pretty much don't need it. We have the same rear 48 megapixel camera with the improved connectivity of Apple's C1X modem and now Apple's N1 wireless chip. Battery will be the same 4,000 mAh, and the price point remains the same at $599, though we even heard of a possible squared center stage camera, which would be amazing. But then the second topic is of that iPhone flip we discussed last week. New reports claim that Apple is already testing this form factor with a major focus on portability and pocketability. Obviously, it's hard to predict if the whole purpose of the iPhone Air was to build the design approach needed for this design of the flip, but the reality is this clamshell will compete not just with other flip phones, but also the new trend of ultra-thin phones. It's hard to know if we're actually gonna get an iPhone flip launch, but time will tell. Now, the third topic is what we are getting with that iPhone 18 Pro, which sources continue to call as a device that will bring a few major upgrades. I mean, we have heard of the possibility of a smaller dynamic island, though sources still can't agree on whether it'll be on the side or the center. We also got another source calling on that variable aperture camera lens, which might actually be more granular than what Samsung did back with the Galaxy S9. Thing is, what we heard now is that efficiency will be a major upgrade. We recently discussed the slightly larger battery and the 2nm 820 chip, but now we're hearing connectivity will also be overhauled. It seems Apple will launch this phone with an N2 wireless chip, in addition to this being Apple's first Pro iPhone to launch with Apple's C2 modem, promising more endurance. But then that's not all. Reports call that the C2 is the solution needed for the expanded satellite capabilities we've heard of. In today's question, let me know. If you could ask for just one thing for Apple's next Pro iPhones, what could that be? Because in my case, I really want squared sensors and variable aperture, but on all cameras. That for me would go a long way for videography. I'm curious to know what you would want in the comments. Friends, thank you so much for joining on this new episode of Tech Briefing. Please like, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments, as I'm sure you've seen me try to respond to as many as I can. Also, follow me on social media as more behind-the-scenes work continues to happen there. Guys, our Technically There podcast with Josh is returning very soon, so stay tuned for that as well. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.